Frank Giles, editor-in-chief of Agnet Media, and I'm joined by Ryan Atwood, who is a blueberry grower in Florida and also a packer as well. So you're very involved in the blueberry industry and as well as the Florida Blueberry Growers Association. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Well, great. My column in the April issue of Specialty Crop Grower magazine, I just kind of gave a shout out to the Florida Blueberry Growers Association and the University of Florida and the blueberry research team that's at Florida and the partnership you guys have developed over the years to kind of really direct the research by being proactive and having interaction between the growers and the researchers to make sure you're pointed in the right direction when the research is underway. So I wanted to have you on because of your involvement with the association, but also as a grower to talk a little bit about how that partnership works, how you guys communicate to really make sure the research that's coming out hits home to what you need.
Yeah, so the Florida Blueberry Growers Association has a sub research committee, and that's made up of a group of individuals, growers, and also some UF faculty. And we've gotten together. Thankfully, Dr. Gilbert, the dean of research, has been really helpful in terms of working with the FBGA. And we approached them about wanting to have a little more say and input into what gets researched. We think they do great work. To be honest, I think that the premier blueberry research institution, I think in the world. It's a little bit of a statement, and obviously I'm a little biased being alone, but I think I challenge somebody to prove otherwise to me. Um, so this, in my opinion, just helps strengthen their, you know, prestige in our community and helps address some problems too that we've been having that we'd like, maybe some more focus on. So they've agreed to put some funding up. As you know, we have a research proposal going out. We're opening it up to all researchers. We're not just playing favorites. It's going to be reviewed by a group of panelists from the university and growers in the state, and we're going to make a ranking based on what we feel are good proposals in terms of hitting needs. And we're going to select and approve some projects and hopefully get some things rolling this year. That's the plan.
Great. Talk a little bit about some of those research needs. I know new varieties obviously are always important. Pest problems that are out there. I know as you get deeper into it, you get a little bit more specific of what some of those research needs are. Just give me a little outline of some of those priorities.
Yeah, so just so you understand how it works, we did a survey of the Florida Blueberry Growers Association's membership, and they were given a survey to fill out that prioritized what they felt were the research needs. And of course, you nailed a big one there. Always it's genetics and varietal, but also pest and disease, which scores high. Pollination scored high. Uh, Organic and kind of alternative growing practices were on the list. And weed control has been one that a lot of people have been emphasizing. Just more information on certain products and what their potential possibility is. So those were kind of some of the big top five, I guess, in a lot of ways. We're very interested in AI. Obviously, they got a new center going down at UF. How can that be implemented to help Florida blueberry growers? So that's going to be something of interest as well. And of course, you always got other things such as cedar waxwing mitigation, just common year in, year out challenges for Florida blueberry production.
Great. And one thing in the column that I wrote that this video will be going in conjunction with was giving the growers from the Blueberry Association a shout out for how good they are in the actual meeting, the spring and fall meetings of peppering the researchers with questions and really smart questions. So you're among one of the best. So always know that you're going to have smart questions for them, and it helps me in writing stories and covering the event.
Yeah, our researchers are a great group. I mean, we're fortunate as an industry to have really good people to work with. people that really are committed to the job and are interested in the job. And so, there are colleagues in a lot of ways, even though we're not researchers. Some of us have backgrounds in that. Obviously, I have that from an extension of research background. So I think I can understand how it all works together really well because of that historic perspective that I've had. So it allows me, I think, to help ask questions. Sometimes I ask questions intentionally, even if I kind of have an understanding of the answer, but I want the researcher and honestly, Frank, a lot of times I want the audience to be thinking about some of the things that they've presented and how that might work or fit together with their operation. But we try to ask good questions. I think my fellow growers, they're well educated people. They're passionate about what they do, and I think we're very fortunate that we have a good industry and community which is truly trying to advance itself together. So I think that's what you're picking up on there, and I agree with you. It's a little unique compared to some industry groups.
Great. And while we have you here, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you how, we're some months away from the freeze now. How are things looking out in the
Yeah,
fields?
yeah, we're we're recovering. It depended really on the farm you're talking about as to how much damage. I mean, we've got some farms that we've already cut and edged and are working on next year. We've got some farms that had large trees to the north that were good windbreaks, and were smaller farms that were protected somewhat, had maybe better irrigation or more water, and came through with less damage, and we're picking some fruit off of those farms. Uh, I mean, all in all, I think it's kind of what we thought it was right after it happened. I think Central Florida got hit the hardest, and I think South Florida, North Florida have a little bit more crop to harvest than Central Florida, and that's starting to come now. People have been picking, quote, scrapping fruit. There's a few South Florida farms that came through the freeze in really good shape. They're in peak production right now. They're picking. There's very few of those farms. I would say most people are what we would call scrapping. And normally you'd have one or two scraps. And because of the way this freeze is, it's turned into more like four scrap pickings. Um, I do think in about 10 days, we'll be into what came after the freeze, so to speak. And we'll be picking more volume in Florida. And it'll be interesting to see how do prices hold up through the month of April? I think they should hold up well from what I've been hearing from folks, and then see how much of that volume we can get in April instead of May. Because one phenomenon that you tend to have is when you end up with less fruit on the bush, it tends to mature that fruit a little more quickly. So it's making it a little difficult to do your harvest projections this year, as to what the timing's looking like. But yeah, it's not going to be the greatest harvest ever for Florida. I would expect a record low number, Frank, um, for Florida production.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but and hopefully we won't have to have a conversation about a freeze like this for
Yeah,
a very long time in the future.
yeah, no, I agree with that. I haven't seen anything like this since I've been in the blueberry, realm, and I've been in it about 20 years now between my previous employment and being a grower. It's nothing like I've ever seen really, and hopefully won't see this again in my career.
Yeah, let's hope so. Ryan, appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, appreciate it.